Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video of DailyDrivenForeigns. And today, as you can see from the puddle, we have an issue with the Beamer. One night, when I went to go walk my dog, I looked at my car and I seen a huge puddle coming from underneath. So I went over to go look at it, and I really couldn't see where the leak was coming from. Mind you, it's nighttime, and everything is covering, where I could possibly look at. So I decided to turn the car on. As soon as I started the car, you could see more antifreeze leaking from the bottom, from underneath. So I quickly turned it off and then waited till the next morning to take everything apart so I can see what's really going on. So we proceeded to jack the car up and started looking at the engine, seeing what we need to take off so we can really look inside. We didn't really know that we had to take off this much to really look at what was going on, but it was a process. We started to attack some stuff at the bottom, taking off some 8mm bolts, and I believe 12mm bolts as well for the metal panel that's under the car. So this is the first panel that's from underneath the car, and then we started to take out the metal panel. As you can see there, the antifreeze is still leaking because we started the car to see if we can look at it again in the morning time. Once we got all the panels out the way, then we went back to the top and started to look what we needed to take off. And mind you, this right here was a complete maze. We're coming in here not knowing anything at all, and we just started taking stuff off. Well, we had to take off a whole bunch of hoses, a whole bunch of lines, a whole bunch of sensors. We ended up having to take off a lot of little things in order for us to really take off the intake manifold so we can get to really look at the problem. As we were continuing to take off everything that we needed to take off, ran into a little issue. The charge pipe that was connected to the intake manifold, those two bolts, or those three, or the two that I'm looking at right now, are stripped and I can't take them off. So good thing that the charge pipe has a rubber hose in the middle. So we just took that part off with a screwdriver, and then we kept half of the charge pipe intact with the intake manifold, and we just took it off that way. Here we're looking at what we need to take off more. Finally took off some clips off the intake manifold, and we're looking at how many bolts does the intake manifold actually have so we can get that out the way. As we were trying to take the intake manifold off, we kept running into problems, so we went back underneath the car to see where the leak is actually coming from. And we thought it was this housing that's right here, but it was really not this housing. If you get a better look at it, that plastic part that's right there, you can see the leak coming from inside, and that is the oil cooler housing. And it's basically where antifreeze goes through to cool the oil down once the engine gets a little too hot. In the mix of us trying to fix the car, me and my dad had took a flight to New Jersey to watch the Eagles put a beat down on the Giants.
Come on. We stopped him. We stopped him.
Yes, sir! Now it's back to business. This is the new part that we needed to change. That little piece right there is usually where it cracks at, and that's where the issue is coming from. Once we take this off, I'm gonna show the clip where you can see where it cracked at and all the antifreeze is leaking from.
That one was 8, right?
Yeah, this was an 8. So my dumb ass
just like that.
tried to take the oil cooler housing off. My boy Andrew came through. He came through, can't clutch. I ain't gonna lie to you. But
Professional, baby.
Done took the wrong bolt off. Yes, we took off the wrong bolt for the oil cooler housing. That bolt was for something else. I don't know what it really was for, but it was attached to the frame. It was like a bracket. But the bolt that we needed to take off was literally 2 centimeters away, and we finally got that off. We had to take off the wheel well panels so we could attack that last bolt for the oil cooler housing. It was a pain, and I swear it was a pain, to really trying to get all these extensions into this certain area so we can take off that bolt. Here's the actual piece that we had to take off, and you can see that ring of plastic tends to break and, you know, wear away around 60,000 miles on F30s. But this right here was the entry point where we had to go in to get to that last bolt that's at the bottom of the oil cooler housing. This right here is honestly the best place to get to that last bolt. There's other ways to get to it, but you gotta take off, you know, other things as well. But this right here was one of the easiest spots to go through. Shout out to my boy Angel for coming through. If you want to look up his YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe at Pancakes Media.
First bill. I'm not even gonna do myself dirty like that. Oh, I'm not even gonna do myself dirty like that, man.
That way, if there's oil leaking, we know it's not this.
After putting everything back together, intake manifold, all the hoses, all the lines, all the sensors back together, we proceeded to bleed the cooling system. And there's a video, you can look that one up, on how to bleed the cooling system. It's pretty easy, it's not too hard. But this right here took pretty much the whole bottle of antifreeze to fill it back up and run through the system. So here, when I put everything back together, I ran through a little issue. The car kept saying that I had drivetrain malfunction. My throttle wasn't responding to the vehicle. When I pressed the gas pedal, nothing was really moving. And I was, you know, stressing. So I went to go and buy myself a computer where I can scan the car through the OBD port. As you can see right here, you plug that in there, and it reads all the codes that's going off in the car. Once you put the VIN number into the computer of the car, you hit auto scan, and it gives you a whole list of codes on the car. Some pass, some fail, and the ones that are failing, obviously the one that's causing the issues. I did a quick erase with the computer so I can get rid of all the fault codes that was appearing on the car. Once I got rid of all those codes, I put the computer back to the car so I can read it again to see what more codes came back up. So once putting the computer back to the car, this code came back up, and really all this code right here is for is me not putting a sensor completely back into its position. And I looked up the code, and somebody pointed out where that sensor is located. I looked at the sensor, figured out that it wasn't completely plugged in, and I plugged it back in and got it right. Once I was done scanning the car and erasing all the codes that I need to erase, I went on a little test drive to, you know, see if anything went back up, seeing the check engine light came back on, seeing everything else came back on. Mind you, I still didn't put anything back together, really. Not the bottom of the panels, nothing on the top of the car that we took off. Nothing's really completely back on the car. But I decided to take a little test drive, and everything went smooth. I was really happy that no lights came back on, and we fixed the problem. Here's the next day of me putting everything back together, putting the foam pieces back together. I had trouble putting this plastic part that we took off that goes on top of the foam that covers all the, you know, wires and stuff like that from the rain. And that right there took me a minute to get back on as well. But right here, we're just tying up everything, putting everything back together, and completing the job.
Tell me what's wrong, my big girl, what's the issue? Baby, don't cry, ain't on me, here's a tissue. I'm so official, no need for a whistle. Come here and give me a hug, cause I miss you.